Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. Having some good weather over here in the UK, so I was away for a few weeks, but I'm back with a whole bunch of stuff. So basically, I guess we better get this underway. What you're looking at here is a modified version of Trio. So down here, we have, if I just indicate it there, that area down below is Superior Upscaler. That's turned off right now. The first thing I want to show you is a feature of the RG3 nodes, which is pretty cool. What I've done here is I've made it a toggle which enables Superior. Now, the way that you get this to actually work is by going into, I think, the properties panel, and then you change, obviously, the label. And this is the fast groups bypasser node, which is part of RG3. What you do is you say blue on color, match colors blue, right? And then because I've put this into a color blue, yeah, that is then everything inside of it gets disabled. So then what we can do is we can easily toggle that. Now I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but like I've been looking for an easy way to do that for ages and I just never had the time to look it up. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be re-releasing a lot of my workflows. So there'll be a bunch of new pack versions coming out where essentially I'm going to be adding in things like this. You've probably already got RG3 nodes, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Also, I've actually made a whole bunch of new stuff. So let me just check this. Check this. If I just go over to my page on Civit, we take a quick look here. I did a whole bunch of new models. So we obviously did a bunch with the Not the True World Lora, and we had the Helldivers 2 Lora. Then we made the loop motion workflow. Then we did cosXL converter and the merge checkpoints. All of the links for them will be in the description. And basically, you're able to create your own custom diffusion model and then use that as well if you want. And then combine it with Superior and we get some nice output. So I decided to make a couple of like quick style collections. First one being Thora. So I had like an anime Laura, which I'd trained. This is all based on work which, oh God, goes back quite a long way. I've done other Thora models and they're trained on the same data. So if you take a look at those, then you'll be able to see the difference. Unspeakable Horrors is new, and 80s is also new. Both of these were trained on a relatively small data set. So we've basically got those, and we've also got Not the True World. What I want to do, mod. So let's just quickly get the URL so we can check out what this is. Because I've been building towards this for a while. Now, where the hell? Oh, doesn't seem to be here. Right, well, I know it's called prompt control. Oh, look at that. Okay, so prompt control is a very cool little custom node set that allows you to do a bunch of special things. Like if we take a look at this syntax here, we can schedule syntax. So B, C, 0.3, 0.7, etc. So it's going to swap out the token as we go through the steps, or it's going to use the token for a fraction of the steps. Yeah. So, you know, anyway, I'm not going to get too complicated because I want to show you. So if I go back to my workflow, I've made a bunch of notes here. So here's some examples in the workflow, right? So hyperfuture style is a style which comes in with Not the True World. So let's just quickly take a look at what this workflow is doing. So just in case you've never used my workflow, there's three K samplers set to 1. And the reason is because often it will just make a different, better image each time. All right. So we're feeding the same latent into itself a bunch of times. You can also control B if you prefer the second or the first. So it's up to you whether you take advantage of that because it doesn't work for everything, but it does usually give you improved outputs. All right. Because it's just image to image to image. Sometimes it's too much, like I said, and that's why we have all the previews right there. Okay. So if I go back over here, what I got is I got 2 Lora stacks. So I got the Lora stack of things I always want on. Sorry, this stack always on usually. So we've got Hyper SDXL 8 steps. And then if I go in here, I've got my various different styles. I've basically put them all in. So we've got Thora there, we've got the horror there, which I think is Unspeakable Horrors, and we've got XJX style, which would be the 80s, and then Not the True World just there. I've also got another one called Microscopy, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn them all off for now. All right. And let's just take a look at what this prompt is. So how about we just copy this out real quick. So make a note here, just in case I want to come back to that. And then another thing I did over here is I've added a bunch of, these are all of the prompts from the various models. You should probably delete these. Sometimes the image gets too big when it tries to include all of that information in every image that you make. So these are here so I can show you what I'm doing. I would actually delete these out just to make your the metadata less lengthy, because there's a lot of lines here. Some of these have a lot of tags. Anyway, I think Not the True World is in a text document I've got to refer to. Yeah, there it is. So I've got that in a bin. All right. So I've also built in a random line set. So for example, if I just took this and I copied all of them in there, now random line is activated. If you put in more than one line, random line's activated it. So if I keep the seed on fixed random, this is the prompt seed, which is picking a line from there using this number. So it's not the same as the actual generation seed, which is for the image. I've got that currently fixed, right? These are both RG3 nodes. I've also got my aspect size on there. That's on the GitHub. Should also be a link in the description. So as you can see, right now, all we're using is, no, not that one, is the Hyper SDXL. That's all, right? So when we run this, oh, and we also want to turn off that so it's nice and fast. So we're going to be using Cos Real Jugs XL on Hermit, which is just a custom mix, guys. You can use whatever model you want. All right, we should start. It's always a bit slow on the first run, but you know. Okay, so it looks like it picked something demonic. So what? Oh, we're using horror prompts. Right, let's actually use the 80s prompts because they're a little bit less full of demons. All right, that's better. Right, so we've got a room of some kind. Now, as you can see, what I was saying earlier, first image is pretty cool. Next image hasn't gone crazy. Last image, I mean, you'd have to go next to see the difference, but I think the last one maybe has gone too far. Hard to say because it's kind of bad there. We're not actually loading the model, all right? So let's try turning the model on. Nothing, everything's fixed. So right now, let's go full screen. So if I just quickly turn on the style which we're currently running, XJX style is the main. So if I just turn that on, now we're going to get an image which is coming out of the training. So this should be one of my rooms. There we go. Yeah, that's one of mine. So, and again, if we look at the first image, and then the second and the third, actually, in this instance, the third image was the best. Probably is milking data out of the Lora, so it's not just calling on the model over 3 times, it's also calling on the Lora, so seems to work anyway. Right. So we're currently at 16 to 9. All right. And we're just going to leave this on fixed and fixed for now. But eventually, what I'm going to have to do is take one of these prompts and not be using the prompt seed. It will, we'll just have one line. So if I was to put not the true world, just turn it on, there are some common tokens. So if we were to, this is why we need to actually pull one of these out now. So let's see if we can find one which is like the one we've got. Oh, because they've all been randomized for some reason. I don't know why it does that. I suppose we could just pick a different one, but it would be nice if I could carry on showing you the room. I feel like that's going to be quite interesting. While I'm trying to find that, check this out. I used Udio and made a whole bunch of songs, Suno as well. And then I took them into FL Studio, messed around with them for a little while, and then mastered them all using some Adobe stuff. Pretty cool. Going to do a video on it soon. But the tracks are up here. And then what I did was I put the first tracks on my SoundCloud, and then I put all of them onto my radio station. So you can go onto my website, click radio, and you should be able to listen to them. So there they are. And like I said, you can still go to the SoundCloud. I think there's a link on here somewhere. Maybe I got rid of it. There it is. So there it is. Aha! Okay, so I found it. So we got XJX style room, scenery, no humans, tree, plant, sunlight, table, chair, palm tree, indoors, shade. Now, this is probably a slightly different prompt, so let's run it again and see what we get. And then I can start getting, I'm trying to do this in steps, make it more complicated and see, because you can do this with any token, any model, any Lora. So, and all you got to do is get prompt control, which is in the manager. Now, let's take a look. So actually that image is very similar. So it must have been pretty much the same prompt. So take a look at that. That's come out okay. We're no upscaling yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on not the true world first. Oh, it was already on. So turn it off and then show the difference and then turn it back on and continue. Okay. So seed for seed. This is what you get without not the true world added in. This is just using the 80s Lora. And when I add not the true world, we'll get a slightly different room. Okay, so the difference was that to that. So data from not the true world has just been used because there are common generic tokens. No humans. There's definitely any shot which is empty will have that token. Scenery is a common token. Tree is a common token. So there's a lot there which is going to sort of hey, it's going to pull from all these different data reservoirs, I guess. Okay. Anyway, so the idea right now is that we've got XJX style at 0.7. So we're going to turn that down to 0.6. So we've matched on 0.6 and 0.6. For running two Loras, that's good. I would normally reduce them more. As I add more Loras, I'll reduce the strength. And so you can kind of peak the one that you want to have the most influence. But right now, we don't actually have a token, a main trigger token from Not the True World. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one, and for some reason it's looking at Helldivers. There we go. So let's take, for example, verticality style, which is a pretty strong style. I don't think it's really going to fit either. So just to sort of zoom in on what we're going to do here, we're basically going to take this. Take the style out. Okay, we're going to take that. I'm going to add that after the XJX, like this. Yeah, and then we'll actually take the style out. So we're blending it in. So it's going to say XJX. Then it's going to do verticality from 0.3 to 0.8. All right. style. So as it goes through the steps, however many there are, now this is a bit off because we're going to remember we're not using many steps with Hyper. Same thing for Lightning and Turbo. So you've got to sort of bear in mind that when you have got more steps to play with, this is going to be much stronger. So like, just bear that in mind. It's a fraction of total steps, but as you can see, we're only doing 8. So essentially, it's going to do XJX style for the first third and the last fifth. All right. Of the steps, which is like, 2 steps and 3 steps because we've only got, wait, no, it's 8. So it's even less than that. All right. Anyway, let's get up there. Okay. So what difference did we get? It's quite a big difference, actually. Going from there. Yeah. Burn that into your eyeballs to there. It's quite a big difference, actually. It's quite a big difference, but it doesn't really look like verticality. See, verticality is a whole bunch of stuff. Like verticality includes other tokens which we're not using. So it's not using build it outdoors, sky, stairs, city, day. So what I'm going to do is basically just add another set of stuff, which I'm going to put in. I don't know. Where should we put it? Let's put it at the end, right? And we do the same thing. So bracket, go to the end of the stuff we want to sort of phase in and out. And we're going to say, oh, I think 0.4 to 0.7. Whoops. So I actually write that properly. So 0.4, make it bigger. 0.4, 0.7. So then all of this stuff is only going to come in the middle of the generation, and then it's going to stop. Right. So look at that. Okay, we're starting to get some geometry now, which is coming out of this other architectural model. See, the verticality is a bunch of skyrise buildings, right? So you've got a couple of options from here. See, what you could do is you could match it. So let's say we go from 0.1 to 0.6 and let the original take over. So we'll match it. I've actually done the syntax wrong there. Hang on. Forgive me. There we go. That probably will affect it big time because I actually messed it up. Oh no, it seems to have read my idiocy. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. So now they both match. Now, what if I was to now peek the not the true world? So let's go up there and then we'll dip a little bit on XJX. So now we should get more of the other style. There we go. Look at this. Oh, that's not the last one. There, look at this. So this is getting more interesting now. It's starting to turn it into this. It's going a bit crazy actually, but yeah, you're starting to see the effect of the style coming in, right? So if I was to continue peaking it and dipping it, so if I go for a 0.4, 0.8 mix, there, that should further accentuate it. There we go. It's really, yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. And as you can see now, as we continue, because Not the True World was a vanishing point focused model. It had a lot of perspective stuff trained in, it had a lot of architectural stuff trained in. And so as we give it more Not the True World, but we're sort of inserting that into the middle, we're able to kind of blend the two. So right now we're doing XJX style room. That's from my 80s Lora. Obviously it can make rooms, but it was making that kind of jungle in the room vibe. And now what's happening is we're expanding the room and making it sort of a massive scale. And I haven't actually used that word yet. So if I was thinking, what else could we do from here? Then what I would do is I would just sort of go, All right, well, okay, this is all well and good, but what if I wanted to use a completely different style to the one I've got loaded, right? So let's just jump into the next phase. So we're going to do the same thing. Any tokens that aren't already in there, I'm going to add. So now we're doing Hyperfuture, which is a bunch of like Escher style futuristic cities with all like spiraling buildings and stuff. Um, and then Gears Steampunk City Arch, which should sort of give it a little bit more detail on top. So let's go for that. We're on the same seed as well. Now, as you can see, it's just done the same thing again. It used the room to make the general perspective initially, and then it started detailing that out with my Hyperfuture style. And then towards the end, it's gone back to the other end, and we've got the trees and everything else. So remember, we started off with a room, all right? So let's just take a step back and review. We started off with a demon. And then I decided to use a room instead. I showed you how the 3 steps work, and then we started turning on the Loras. So now this would be your pre-trained room, your pre-trained jungle rooms, which you created your Lora with. Okay. And then you also pre-trained the Lora on an architectural model, which you're then going to increase the strength of. And then we're going to use that to build out a much more detailed space with more fine details to build upon, and so on, until eventually you get to something like this. Now, this I just run through Superior, and it's going to give me a really nice, tight, detailed image, which I'd then go and airbrush. Go and airbrush it in Photoshop, guys. Clone brush, get your best details, paint them around, mask out the bad stuff. It takes a very small amount of time, and you'll be finished with something that you can like. I think it really sets these off, and you can do a lot of painting, or you can do hardly any painting. Airbrushing doesn't have to be a massive change, and then you could think about color grading and other editing techniques. Like I say, there's more to it than just, life starts when the image is finished generating. It's not the end. This is the beginning. So I just want to show you more ways of packing more detail into your scenes. So, and this can be used for other things, but I want to get to that. So let's say I wanted to make this a jungle city. That's also another style I trained in, right? So here we go again, jungle city. And I reckon I'll take these tokens from that prompt like that, and we'll put them in there, and then run it. And then we'll move on to the next technique. So I think I've pretty much shown you what this is, how it does, how it do. And as I said, I'm using Hyper at the moment. If you don't use Hyper, you can actually get much finer details, but it's quick. I like it. I like it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at my next blending trick. So that's basically the same as that. All I've done is changed it there. So here we have ruined neo future colon ancient realm 0.3. So this is for blending 2 triggers at once. So that would be ruined style, but it's also going to swap ruined out for neo future 0.3, and then it's going to swap that out. I don't know why I've done it with the style in there, because you'd still need ruined style. Anyway, I'll fix it. So here we go. If I just chuck this bad boy under here, all right, and we'll build on it. Okay. So we don't need the style in there. That's probably me being a bit weird. Don't need the style in there because we're going to put the style after. So that's how we'd start it. What this is going to do is going to load a bunch of styles from not the true world, and we're going to swap them out basically every third. So 1/3 ruined, 1/3 neo future, 1/3 ancient realm. That's pretty much what's going on here. But here's the interesting part, because of course these are so how do I put this? Because these are so interchangeable, and I want to use the XJX, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take XJX style room, and I'm just going to put that after it. So let's just delete this and take XJX, room, scenery, and I'll just stop it there. Let's just see what it does, right? There. And then do we want to have any more? We should match. So if I go 0.3, 0.7, but I'm not really going to give it much effort. Okay, tree, sky, we'll get rid of tree. Keep it kind of a bit vague. Sky, outdoors, building. We'll take away city. Day is okay. All right, so then I'll put that. All right, so get rid of the top lot there. Whoop. So what are we doing? What we're doing right now is we're going to be asking for an XJX style room with scenery, no humans. But then we've also said we want sky, outdoors, building, day for the middle third. Meanwhile, the entire prompt generation is going to be ruined style, but then it's going to become neo future style. And then finally at the end, it will become ancient realm style. A note, the final steps are more for the fine details. So you might not really see the style of Ancient Realm, but you might see some of the fine details that you'd get. Ancient Realm is like really, really old, sort of Middle Ages type architecture. Okay. So let's just go for it. Okay, nice. I recognize that immediately. So, and it's done exactly what it. So, okay, it's ruined is what gives the towers. Neo Future is what gives the bridges, and then Ancient Realm is what has done all of the fine details. By using no humans, we've got no people. By using scenery, it's decided to make it a big wide shot, I think, because that's something that it would have connected to. Sky means we actually get, outdoors and stuff. But there's interesting things you can do with this. So I could make this 1, 2, 4, and then we could change the split a bit. So we could say 1, 2, 4. Whoops. So basically giving the ruined hardly any time to do anything, and then giving Neo Future a little bit more time before Ancient Realm kicks in. But then, we're basically giving time to the other two. Right now, can we actually see the difference between that? It's going to be so subtle. Ooh, we got that one, burning it into my retinas. Ah, crap. 1. It's very difficult to. It's very difficult. I could try using the arrows, but there's 3 of them. I mean, it's very difficult to even see what that's done, if anything, I'll be completely honest with you. But hey, sometimes it's easier to show off than others. I'm going to put it back to good values. 3 and 7. Okay. So what I wanted to do there was basically show you how you could use 3 styles. And it's worth pointing out, if I was to use some other strange thing, right? So, for example, if I just take one that's completely unrelated, like that, and then put that into Neo Future, that's going to be quite interesting, actually. Whoops. Why has it done that? Oh, it's just too long. All right, cool. So first, let's see what happens because I did it. Ooh. I really love how it builds details in from stuff. So it used YJY electron microscopy. I bet it just used the electron microscopy. So we've got some interesting, like, fine details. They're a bit weird, though. But that is nice. They're really small. I love the fine detail stuff where it looks really, really tiny. Everything's must be huge. But we'd have to airbrush the bridge quite a lot because it looks terrible. But if I actually turn that Lora on for a second and put it down to 0.4 so it matches the 80s style, like that, this should do something a bit more drastic. Maybe. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. It's using the electron microscopy for the curves. Wow. It's still using not the true world to make everything look tiny and far away. Because that was one of the big focuses of that model, was to try and make big scale difference in architecture, big giant stuff. Right, so let's just turn the strength up on the microscopy. We'll go up to 60 and then see how it fares. Because it's not really going to, I don't think it's going to come through majorly. I want to see if I can show you what happens when you break it. But I think because of the prompt control, yeah, you're not going to get out of ruined, are you? Do you know, it might be that we're actually just swapping these two. And that means we always get ruined. So what I'm going to do is take ruined out, go for it again. Oh, yeah, we're getting a lot more from the microscopy model. All of this weird geometry in the ground, it's actually like bacteria under a microscope. So this is like about to break. So if I put this to 1 right now, I think it should break through and just look like something completely crazy. Because we're trying to make it do yeah, we're trying to make it do a microscope world. Okay, see what I mean? It's all starting to turn into polyps and phages, which is really interesting because it's retaining the architecture. And this is the sort of thing I've been talking about, you know. Um, what I did was I trained a bunch of electron microscopy generated images, not real images. Um, and then so that I could exploit this blending process, because I think that you could use this to create the landscape and then you could just hang on. Ah, nice. It didn't record. Isn't that great? So basically, let's just review and see where I am. So I was around here. We were messing around with the bacteria stuff, changed it into a castle so you could do your overlay masking and whatnot. And then I decided to switch on the anime model Thora, left it at 0.5, and just added anime KZK to the beginning because that is the trigger. Anime and then KZK something is basically the trigger for Thora. So that then gave us a lovely anime style. So then I decided to turn off not the true world. So you can see that all of these bridges and stuff, that's all architecture learned from not the true world. So now we're just looking at the 80s style with the anime style together, blended together. And I think then I turned on the horror style. And essentially, let's just do scenery, and then we're all caught up. So by turning on the horror style, we're now effectively blending the two, and we're getting like a monstrous setup. Still in the anime style though, and horror is at 50%. We've got the 80s at 0.4, which is basically being ignored a little bit right now. And then not the true world is switched off. So if I turn that back on, it's going to change a lot because we've changed a few things. There we go. So now we're getting this, and this is the sort of stuff I was trying to create. I knew I'd have to blend a few things together to get it, but now we're getting this kind of weird beyond the future type stuff. Got a giant waterfall. Doesn't make sense. That must be the ground. Everyone's living in buildings in the cliff. Very cool. Really nice details. And like I said, this is why, because it's all on fixed. Now I can just click that, make it again, and it's going to take a little bit longer this time, but it's going to send it through Superior. So then I'll get my 4K upscale. Okay, and that would be my finished upscale. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. It's a bit baked. You know, you can see there's a bit of rough contrast, but I always think it's better to start with an image that's overly sharp because it's easier to, you know, make it soft than make it sharp. So more detail, too much detail is not a bad thing. It's not enough detail that's hard to work with. So there we go. And what I'm going to do next, remember to turn off your upscaler. And then if I just shoot down here, we're going to look at the next one. So the next one is Hyperfuture style for the first half, and then Ancient Realm style for kind of an overlapping, right? So what I'll do is I'll put that in place here so that it makes, it's gonna hopefully it will simply work. Go and go. And we don't have an NKH tag right now, but it's got enough to play with, so that's cool. All right, so there we go. So we've done Hyperfuture style, which is super futuristic stuff, and then Ancient Realm style for the blend, right, which takes it back to the sort of old style stuff again. But we get up, look, we got a futuristic building in the background there, and then we've got all these bridges again, right? So if I was to change Hyperfuture for Neo Future, which I know is a different one in the same model, it's going to do that. It's going to plug into Neo Future, which gives us a much more sort of Neo Tokyo vibe to work with, right? Which is what it is. Neo Future, Neo Tokyo. That's what I based that one on. And like I said, that's doing it for the first half, and then it's overlapping with the Ancient Realm. And again, the Ancient Realm and the Neo Future are part of not the true world. XJX style room is basically just giving us our perspective shot, like our little box to paint into. It's pretty much being ignored at this point. And something you can do as well is we can bring it back there. So if I say here and just put some attention on it, so just say one, right? And then get rid of stuff which conflicts with the concept of a room. So we're going to get rid of sky, outdoors, building. It's just going to be day, and scenery is probably too much. But let's go for it. Done nothing. Hey, that's the same image. Hey, so okay, it's just completely ignoring that in the middle there now. Or is it because I turned it off? Or is it because let's just try turning it up before I do anything drastic? Because it is a bit low. No, not changed a thing. Has it? That's the same image. Oh no, it is changing. Yeah, it is changing, but it's just not changing into what I thought it was going to change into. Probably what you have to do is take away scenery for a start, and then actually add, instead of Neo Future, put XJX in there first. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, okay. Now it's much more horror. Much more horror. It's a bit overshot though. You see what's happening here? It's kind of all melting a bit. So this is the point where I'd go, okay, we've got a lot of Loras loading right now. So how about we just bring them down? So I'll bring this one down to 0.3. I'll bring this one down to 0.3. So bringing them down together so they're still balanced out. Microscopy's off. So then all we have to worry about is these two. Right now they're at 0.6 and 0.8, which is quite a bit. So I would say let's bring this one down to 5.5 and this one to like 0.6. So they have to fight a little bit. Let's see what happens. And that's much cleaner. There we go. Much cleaner. I might even continue reducing it to see if I can get it more. But this is actually not bad. It's probably worth upscaling. A little bit of a weird silhouette on the people up there. But it's certainly got that horror vibe. I might actually bring it down just a little bit more. So how about we go with 5.5 and 5.0? That's still over 30 by quite a long way. Wonder how that'll come out. barely any different, but I bet if I look, better or worse, better or worse. And that's all this is, just a constant refining of the numbers to try and get the weights to balance, and then you can have something nice at the end of that. Um, if I was just to turn off Not the True World right now, just to show you what would happen. There you go. So without Not the True World, it's still good, but it's lost a lot of fine detail and replacing it with this sort of generic hieroglyphs, which aren't really very well done. Be better if they weren't there, you know. Um, and that was kind of the whole point of Not the True World. Add this sort of detail depth. So this is what you get with that turned off, and then with Not the True World, it'll give you something like that. I think it's a little bit easier, to work with. Anyway, so I think that might be it. Let's just double check, see my notes. There might be one more. Ah, yeah, there's one more. Well, actually, there's loads. If you go on to the full thing, there's so much stuff you can do with this. But I just wanted to show you like some of the stuff that I've been doing that works nice. So we're going to take this one, Paradise Ancient Realm again. I should probably pick something other than Ancient Realm because there's like 40 styles to choose from. So let's just plonk it in there again. Oop. All right, and let's just take out the actually, we'll leave the anime on for a sec. So, what do we got here? Day 3. We don't need that anymore. Take that off. And let's just take away the priority there as well. And then we've got style. So we'll take away style. And we don't want a room. So let's just make some cool scenery with no humans. There we go. And it's in the anime style. It's using Paradise followed by Ancient Realm, which is why it's trying to make columns, making little structures in the rocks. That's really nice, actually. So if I now go and, well, just to explain what that's doing, it's actually saying for every, what's that, 20th? For every 20th of the steps, swap between Paradise and Ancient Realm. Now that's a bit bad for my step count, isn't it? Because how do you divide 8 by 20 and then use whole numbers to flip and flop? So if I've only got 8 steps, right? Then what I'd probably do is say, is it 2-5 or 1-2-5? 1-2-5? No, I don't think you can do that. Because there's 8. What is this? Okay, I guess 0.2 should be good enough to mess around with. So yeah. It's going to flip flop between Paradise and Ancient Realm every 0.2 of the steps. And it did give us a little bit of a difference when I did it that way. So that's the first run, and there's the second run. So there's a little slight difference there. Obviously not upscaled, so you'd have to run it through soup here, and we got a toggle for that right there. That's pretty much. I mean, well, do you know what? We could do one more thing, couldn't we? How about we just exchange? Let's go and shove this one into the end here. Do something crazy, and then we'll say robot instead of no humans. Make sure XGX is on. Off it goes. Still making scenery. Okay, let's get rid of the scenery. Hey, there he is. He's got extra leg though. That's because of the aspect ratio. So how about we change that? So let's go and take it back to, like, I don't know. We could make it 3-4, so that's taller. Let's see how we get on. Oh, nice. Yeah, sweet. Okay. And so we're using the 80s biotech with Paradise from Not the True World, And then is it done in the anime style still? Yeah, it's using the anime style. So it's a little bit overdone again. See how it's sort of overdone? So what I would do again is I would sort of see which one is the strong one and then back it off. Or maybe add a little bit more, actually. Yeah, well, why not? Why not? And then XJX will give this one the priority. Go up to 6, and then take this one down to like, I don't know, 0.35 so it matches the rest. I'm trying to get them to resonate a little bit. So it'll either work or it won't. Does seem a little bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I think if I run that through the upscaler, it's going to look nice. So let's give it a let's give it a blast. Run the image and then turn the upscaler back off again. And I might, after it's done, just try a different seed as well. Why not? Let's see what we get. And that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out a new updated workflow that's sort of got these notes so you can redo everything that I've just sort of gone along with. But I really just wanted to show you that there are a lot of cool prompt control things where we can use tokens in this way to create more detail or create original sort of images that are claiming slight influences from many sources. And this isn't using image to image. Obviously, you can still do all of this with that. So, and with ControlNet, you can do the same thing. And with IP adapter, you can use the same thing. So this is like more of a prompt. It's more of a prompt engineering thing. So there it is. So, and we're using a stack of like 5 Loras with a custom model, and then we're mixing the prompts. And remember, we trained our Lora, so we created the tokens. And part of the reason why I used that auto captioner for half of the tokens is because it's going to use the same words a lot. And so then when you do your multi Lora loading, the words are going to collide a lot as well, which enables you to create more original stuff. So, like, this has taken the head of the robot from 80s, and then it's kind of just filled it out with the rest of the data, which is pretty cool. All right. So, there's the finished upscale. That looks pretty nice. The thing is that I could take this, and I could take this into Adobe Character Animator or Photoshop first, mask it out, right? Get rid of all the stuff we don't need, right? And then go into Character Animator, make this a puppet, and then you can make it blink. You can make it move its head when it talks with voice activation. Put it on the screen, render it as an alpha, and you've effectively just created a little avatar, right? So anyway, a lot of stuff you can do with this. So just wanted to show you the way you can blend the things. If I had more time, because this is a long one, and we've got more long ones too. So look forward to that. I would have liked to have spent more time, and I am thinking about doing some kind of format where we can really like drill into stuff. Maybe I could take questions from viewers. I don't even know if I've got time to do live stuff. So I might have to pre-record it, and I don't even know where I'm going to do it yet. So just thinking about it. But anyway, guys, that's everything I've got to tell you. So watch out for these workflows, and I'll see you in the next one.